So I had a pretty cool day yesterday. I reacquired basically the start of my big game hunting career. I was 22 years old. I'd never been big game hunting. I'd done a lot of small game hunting, coyote hunting, that kind of stuff when I was down in Alamosa, Colorado. But I never got into the big game stuff. My dad went elk hunting with my uncle one year, muzzleloader, in 2001, and talked me into going in 2002. And I bought this muzzleloader, which is a pretty unique and rare muzzleloader. And some of you guys will pick up on it right away what it is, but it is a Ruger. It's upside down, all weather here. Ruger all weather 7750 and 50 caliber. They didn't make very many of these. They started making them like in the late 90s and quit in the early 2000s. They made them in a few different versions with walnut, blued, synthetic. This is the all-weather with a green wooden laminated stock and stainless steel. And this started everything for me when it comes to big game hunting. When you see all of this stuff here, all that started with that gun right there. And I sold it because I had astigmatism and I couldn't get my eyes to focus right on just standard iron sights. I was having a really hard time with it. And I kind of rigged some fiber optic sights. I took the original front sight, which this has been a replacement, which was a bitch to get, and I'll get to that here in a second. But I ground that down so it matched the barrel profile. I blued it and drilled and tapped it and stuck another fiber optic sight on it. And then I replaced this blade with a fiber optic sight. And I sold it to a guy that I worked with. I went to high school with him. And we've always been friends, just haven't really connected in a while. And I've been kind of bugging him about getting this back, and he was always super supportive of it. And he told me the other day, he's like, hey, just find something to trade me and come get that muzzleloader. And I had a Thompson Center Omega, and I said, oh, I'm on my way. So I went out there and I reacquired this. It had been converted to a 209 primer system. And one of the reasons I really wanted this back, outside of the sentimental value to me, is I want to go to Oregon and do a blacktail hunt with Jeff and Brandon, my buddies down there in Oregon for muzzleloader season. They have very strict rules, more strict than Colorado. And a few of the issues are, has to have open sights, which is fine. It has to use a number 11 or musket cap. You cannot use 209 shotgun primers. This one's been converted to musket, but I have the number 11 nipple for it too. And it has to have an open ignition system to the elements, which this does. So it qualifies. And I think it'd just be really fun to work up another 777 load. Has to be loose powder, and the bullets cannot have any plastic on them. So I think I'm going to try the Thor bullets without the plastic tip. Order a sizing kit and see which one fits this bore. And if I have to, I'll order a 50 cal Swedge die and I'll size them all down like I do my smokeless. But I really wanted this back, and when I got it back, it had been converted to 209 primers, which I've pulled out and put away. And I had to order this front sight, and I have looked for 10 years for that front sight. And the only place I finally found one was in London, England at a gun store, and they were gracious enough to send it to me to replace the sight that I had hacked up. So this thing's all back together and ready to go, and I'm stoked. It's like I said, this started my entire hunting journey for big game animals, which has been very fruitful. Like I said, I mean, I've taken some nice deer, I've taken some nice elk, I've taken some nice antelope, I've taken all kinds of stuff, and I'll show you here in just a second a picture of me with this rifle and my first bull, and I'll show you the rack here in just a second, because it's none of these I just showed you. So that's the bull that I took with that muzzleloader, my very first one. I was a broke college kid. I made the backer board. I always planned on putting a picture underneath there of me and my cousin, because we're the ones that my cousin called it in for me, and I shot it, and there's a whole story there. Learned a lot that day, to say the least. But yeah, I made the backer board, and don't worry, I do still have a Thompson Center Omega. I will always have a Thompson Center Omega. That is probably the best muzzleloader, in my opinion, ever built. So I'll always own one. But I'll roll a picture in here with this thing and show you my skinny ass back then with that muzzleloader and that bull.